Okay, John, fast.
Yeah, thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Just hold on to that. So, hi. Here we are in September, actually 9/11 of 2016. It was 15 years ago on 9/11, as you all know. It's about 2 miles from where we are right at the moment that the towers went down. Our topic for today is healing the terrorist within. You'll see where this is going to go in just a moment. But I want to also make a few other announcements before that. I'd like to say, this is my friend Bill Heller, Reverend Bill Heller. Bill is from Connecticut, and he's just written this book, which is Unity and A Course in Miracles. So if you're familiar with the Unity School of Religion, Bill is a Unity minister, so you might want to look at this during the break, okay? And Bill, maybe you can say something about that later when we come back from the break or something, okay? Also, I just have a few announcements about activities, things that are going on. We did, for some of you may know, we did 3 years worth of the entire text of the Course in Miracles, 1 chapter per month, except a couple of them took a couple of months because they were such long chapters. But now we're just going to be doing things topically, and I'm going to have guests that are going to join me from time to time. And the guest today, as we already know, is Amy. The way this is going to work is that I'm going to do the first hour, so for about the next 45 minutes until 2:30, and then we'll take our break, and then when we come back from the break, Amy will do 45 minutes, and we'll take a break, and then after that, Amy and I both will be up here to dialogue with you. And, so if any questions or ideas come up, anything you'd like to talk about, especially at that point, we'll talk about them. A few other announcements, if you look, just some things that are in your hands out. I've been asked by some people at the Unity Church to be part of a cruise out of Galveston, Texas, for a week. They're going down to Belize and Honduras and Cozumel, Mexico. So we're going to be studying A Course in Miracles on the cruise ship for an hour or two every day. And there's also a bunch of other leaders that are coming on. I'm not the only one, but there's no other Course in Miracles leaders. The other topics will be something related to their areas of interest. If that should interest you, why, there it is. Also, our seminary started yesterday. It's called All Faith Seminary. We're still open for another month to take in any students that might like to join us. We have 3 areas of study. We have a traditional comparative religion track, which we've been doing since the beginning. A few years ago, people asked if we could open up a Course in Miracles track, which we did, if you'd like to do that. And then we have a rabbinical track, if anybody would be interested in doing that. Also, I'm doing some other things in the area, which you can see listed on the back of this. The next thing is Unity of Montclair, and then Wainwright House, etc. Also, next in October, we're changing the date in October. It's the 3rd Sunday. Try to remember the 3rd. The reason for that is to avoid falling on Columbus Day weekend. People tend to like to go leaf peeping during that time. And I've noticed that it's always a little bit smaller class on Columbus Day weekend, so we're moving up one. And then there's the weekend after that, this lady, Carolyn Cordoa, from Venezuela, will be with us next time, just to kind of announce a program that she's doing here also on the next weekend after that, which is October the 22nd and the 23rd here in New York City. So plenty of information about that. I think that's most of our announcements. If I think of something else, I'll let you know after the break. It's nice to see so many of you here. We have folks, some new folks. A lady I just met here from northern Norway, even further than Narvik, above the Arctic Circle. Nice to have you with us, and others as well. So let's talk about this topic a little bit. The Course in Miracles is a very inner-directed study. One of the basic principles of the Course, which I probably mention almost at every single presentation, is the first 3 words of chapter 21, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with now. Projection makes perception. The world you see is what you make it, nothing more than that. It's an outward picture of an inner condition. Basic difference you've heard me say in the past between a mystic and the ordinary individual, which would be almost all of us all the time, is that we're projectors. We're making up the world, interpreting in the world, analyzing the world, etc. The Course is really asking us to stop that. And that's really what produces a mystical experience. A mystical experience really comes about when we stop the projection, which then just gives us an opportunity to just be present without all the worries and all the anxieties and all the stuff that's going on inside our head, all the churning around. So the basic thing we like to do is that we like to look out into the world and we find problems. We just see problems all over the place. Problems with our mates, problem with people at work, problem with our boss, problems with our husbands, our wives, or our kids. You know, that's just politics. Not that politics is anything of interest or concern to us, but we're going through this incredible period of. You talk about a real world and a not a real world, right? It makes you kind of wonder what reality is. I'm trying to avoid that as much as possible. But the idea, again, is to stop the mind. What we're going to be doing today is looking at some basic quotes from A Course in Miracles and talk about these. We've got this chatterbox thing that we all know about that's going on here, right? That chatterbox thing keeps us from hearing. It's an interference pattern. So as long as we have an interference pattern going on, we cannot be receptive because we're being projective all the time. There's a concept in Judaism that says that being ego-bound, in essence, is like having a yenta in your cap. You know what a yenta is? Yeah. A yenta is a blabbermouth or a gossip monger, and if you're familiar with Fiddler on the Roof, then you're familiar with, there was a yenta in Fiddler on the Roof who's the matchmaker, make me a match, find me a find, catch me a catch, right? So the yenta had to be a busybody in order to gather information about all which boy and which girl might be a good match for each other. Now we use computers for all that, of course, right? But they didn't have computers a couple hundred years ago when they needed yentas, right? There's a similar concept to this in Tibetan Buddhism, and it's called a shempa. It's a yenta and a shempa. All right, so a shempa is a thought that you get into your mind that you can't let go of. And you keep going around and around and around with the thought. And the more you think about it, and just the worse it gets, right? So one of the things that Course in Miracles is going to ask us to do is to become aware of how yenta dominated our minds are, how shempa dominated our minds are. And it's very important that we get to the point of realizing how much that's true in order for us to be able to begin to stop it. You don't stop it unless you're aware of the insanity. First, you got to become aware of how insane you really, really are. That's the first step. So let's start looking at some of the quotes from A Course in Miracles now. So this is appropriate for 9/11. You who feel threatened by this changing world, its twists of fortunes and its bitter jests, attend this lesson well. The world provides no safety. It is rooted in attack, and all its gifts of seeming safety are illusory deceptions. Right? That's the outside world. That's the world that we think that we see. The Course in Miracles, as you know, is a course in mind training. And we got a lot of work to do to really retrain this mind to begin to see in a wholly new way. You can spell holy either with a W or with an H. It's the same thing, with a wholly new mind. It takes a lot of work. Let's go to our next quote. Healing occurs as a patient begins to hear the dirge he sings and questions its validity. Until he hears it, he cannot understand that it is he who sings it to himself. To hear it is the first step in recovery. This is what I was just saying. To question it must then become his choice. So I want to tell you about a little experience I had once upon a time when I used to have a church on 57th Street and 7th Avenue, directly across from Carnegie Hall, back in the 90s. And what I would do, it was really a piano recital hall, but we had it for church services. Some of you, or a few of you here, actually attended those services. I would get there early to see to it that this piano recital hall was being turned into a church for a couple of hours. If everything was working well, all the volunteers were getting all their work done, and they didn't need me, I would leave. And I would go across the street, not to Carnegie Hall, but to Carnegie Deli, and have a cup of coffee and read through my notes for the morning's service. One day I'm there, and it's a U-shaped counter that I was sitting at, and there's a fellow directly across from me who is talking fairly loudly. So he was a street guy, right? And there weren't too many people around at the moment. And he was talking so loudly that I thought that if I got really quiet myself and I kind of leaned in, I could make out what he was saying. And I did. I didn't get it all, but I got enough to know what was going on. So what was going on is that he was practicing a speech. So this is something that I had the sense that he was going to be saying this, or he was practicing in his head, something he would say to somebody in authority. Maybe a parent, maybe a brother or a sister, a judge, somebody in authority, right? He was building the case for himself. Did you ever do that? You're laughing because obviously, yes, you're driving around your car building the case. You know, what you're going to say when you get in front of so-and-so, and oh, don't leave that part out. That's a very important part. You got to get that in, or get the letter you're going to write. You got all the pieces to it, right? So you're rehearsing. Right. You're going to get it. You're going to get it all right. But that's exactly what the Course is talking about this kind of insane mind. Now, see, the difference between street people is it goes all the way to the tongue, and it comes out, right? So we're more sane. By that, I mean, we keep it quiet. We just keep it in here. It doesn't mean we're more sane.
They're on speaker.
Well, yeah.
They're on speakerphone.
They're on speakerphone. Yeah, that's a good way to say it. Yeah, that's true. I'll use that next time. So we're not on speakerphone. We've got our speakerphones turned off, right? But that's what's going on. But again, what's going on is that we're seeing the problem out there. It's not in me. It's in you. You need to change. You need to be fixed. I'm fine. Now, what we don't realize, I have an article in the most recent issue of Miracles Magazine, which should have been on your chairs, that's called about the attraction of guilt and the attraction of God. It's an interesting line in the Course that talks about there's actually an attraction of guilt, which kind of pulls us down. Actually, the more that it pulls us down, the kind of more, like with, say, alcoholism or drug addiction or something like that, it just keeps really pulling us down. But it could also be these kind of Shimpa thoughts that just really pull us down, and it makes us feel guilty. It's not a fun place to be at all. It's not just a dreaming of the world, it's a nightmare dreaming of the world, right? And we don't even seem to be able to stop it or to get, there's no exit, there's no way out. The Course in Miracles says there is an exit. There is a way out, but first we got to stop what's going on. You got to, and the way you do it, let's go back and look at this again. So healing occurs as a patient begins to hear the dirge. He sings. So it's the dirge you sing, or the dirge I sing, the dirge any of us sing, right? Until he hears it, he cannot understand that he is he who sings it to himself. So we're singing this song to ourselves, and we're not even aware of the fact that we're singing it. To hear it is the first step in recovery. So that's the first, that's such an important point, the point that I've underlined. To hear it is the first step. This is Bill Thetford turning to Helen Schuckman and saying there must be another way. First, you got to stop it and look at it and see that that's what's going on. To question it then becomes his choice. So this is a choice. The choice we have, we don't have to listen to this. There's another voice which is actually very clear. And if you listen, you begin. It's a very peaceful voice. If you listen, some of the lesson that you just talked about, it's a very peaceful lesson. If you want to hear it, right? Now let's go on. These fleeting awarenesses represent the many opportunities given us to literally change our tune. So rather than singing this dirge, this death dirge thing, this is a course in mind training. We are going to learn now how to begin to sing a much more peaceful song, a much more gentle, that this song says you are safe everywhere. There's nothing to be afraid of. There's literally nothing. And even if something happens, it's really not for you to worry about, because it's really a part of the life journey process. And you just have to sort of see that this is a part of the process. Okay, so there's a divorce in the works. Well, it's still a part of the process. You don't have to go completely crazy and insane. You know, there's a way to work through this. So you don't have enough money right now. It's okay. There'll be a way, you know. Trust. Trust is a first characteristic of a teacher of God. First we stop and realize we just trust. There's a way out of this. But I can't find the way out as long as I'm singing that dirge. Back to this. I'll start it over. These fleeting awarenesses represent many opportunities given us to literally change our tune. The sound of healing can be heard instead, but first the willingness to hear the truth of the song of condemnation must arise. First we got to be able to see what we're doing before we can stop what we're doing. If you don't see it, you can't stop it. If the cause of the world you see is attack thoughts, you must learn that it is these thoughts which you do not want. So what are the thoughts that you really don't want, right? There is no point in lamenting the world. There is no point in trying to change the world. It is incapable of change because it is an effect. I suspect all right, this goes on from this is part of the same quote. But there is indeed a point of changing your thoughts about the world. Here you are changing the cause. The effect will change automatically. So to change the cause, I got to understand what the cause is. What is it that's driving me crazy? You are driving you crazy. But there's nothing outside. This is such an important point. I'll say this over and over again probably. There's nothing outside of you. That's a direct quote from the Course in Miracles. When it says there's nothing outside of you, what it's saying, there's nothing outside of your mind. It's all a matter of what's in your mind. So what are you choosing to see? And what song are you choosing to listen to? Are you choosing to listen to the ego's song? If you do, it's not a very happy song. It's a dirge, right? But the Course says that there's the herald angel singing. It's possible to listen to another voice altogether, which is very sweet and it's very nice, it's very loving, it's very comfortable, it's very joyful. And that's part of what happens again in a mystical experience. You begin to hear this very sweet and beautiful song. Okay? So we'll go on. To interpret air is to give it power, and having done so, you will overlook it. So that's what we do. What we do is we look out on the world, we see the problems, and then we interpret the problems. And by interpreting the problems, we give them power. So this is one of the first stoppings that you want to do, is you catch yourself doing this insane talking that you're doing inside your head, and stop adding on to it. And not just in your head, but with our friends. We kind of like to, you get together with a friend over coffee or tea, and what do you talk about? The idiots that are out there in the world. I mean, these stupid people that are making such idiotic mistakes, and it's not you. You're cool. You understand. You've got it all right. It's the idiots. It's the one, you know who they are. They're Clinton, they're Trump, they're not you. Right? It's amazing. And what the politics is just, it's just attack. It's an insane system. Something has to, you wouldn't want to be part of this. Because it's a never-ending, it's a never-ending dirge that is being sung. You've got to have complete objectivity. You've got to completely step aside. And this is, I'm calling about your life now. What's going on in your soap opera. So that's not the soap opera that's being sung either. The voice for God, you're still allowing the voice for God to come through. But we don't want to amplify it. To interpret air is to give it power. Let's go on. It is assured that those who hold grievances will suffer guilt, as is certain that those who give will find peace. It is assured that those who hold grievances will forget who they are. It is certain that those who forgive will remember. So we really don't want to be holding these grievances. You get to look at the grievances and think, why are the grievances there? Who put those grievances there?
You did.
Of course you did. Where else could it possibly come from? Right? Now can you see that it's possible to let that go? I don't care what it is. I don't care how big it is or how small it is. You think somebody else did something wrong. You think somebody else did something to hurt you. Do you know the story about the two wolves from the Indian tradition? I'm sure some of you do, but I'll go over it really quickly. It's just a young Indian boy brings a problem to a grandfather about something that's going on in relationship. And the grandfather says, I too have held grievances against things that people have done that have hurt me and that have hurt our tribe, that have hurt others. He says, but this is like taking poison and hoping the other person will die. You know, you have to, and he says, but there's two wolves inside me. You know, the one is very angry, one is on the attack, but the other is very kind and very loving and sees things in a very different way. And then the boy says, which wolf wins, grandfather? And the grandfather says, well, the one you feed. Right? So it's what thoughts are we feeding? Let's just go back for 1 second, all right? To interpret air. See, one of the things we want to do, if you want to stop all the terrorists within, we have to stop interpreting the air. But the first step in doing that is just realize that you do it. If you don't realize that you're doing it, then you can't stop it, right? To see the dirge you sing. What's going on? If you perceive offense in a brother, pluck the offense from your mind. This is a good analogy, actually. It's like if you have a splinter in your finger, right? and that splinter is hurting you, what will you do? You will take it out and you will toss it away, right? Well, there's nothing that says you can't do that with a thought. You may not think that's possible. The Course in Miracles says, your mind is very powerful. You don't even realize how powerful your mind is. There's so much that you can change. There's so much that you can do inside you if you're willing to do it. And we've all probably gone through things like, let's take losing weight, just because that's something that a lot of us can identify with, right? It's a choice. It's a decision. If you want to do it, you can do it, right? But you know you've got to apply some principle. You've got to do something to do it. Well, now I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about perceiving offense in a brother. You can still stop that perception. Here, the thing about projection makes perception, and perception is a choice. That's essentially what we're saying here. Perception is how do I want to see this? So let's say that somebody is attacking you verbally. What do? You listen. Rather than starting to build a case, rather than attacking back, we just listen. And you see what's going on. And you ask yourself a very important question. Why is this person doing this? Are they completely insane? Are they totally bonkers? Or maybe there's another possibility. Maybe there's a little bit of truth in there. See, the ego is going to defend itself against what it's... But there's another possibility that maybe there's something in me that I could change. Maybe I should just listen. That's really the best thing you can do. Just listen. And then see if there is something. I've said before, this is what wives are for. I mean this. I mean, it's what our mates are for. It's not just wives. It's for the people who know you best, who are more likely to tell you, because they're the ones who've had the most opportunity to see where little flaws can creep in to the personality. So this is really a good opportunity for us to just watch and listen very carefully and see if there's anything I can do. One of the things I don't want to do is to get upset about this. I don't want my ego to feel attacked. In other words, I don't even want to be in the ego state at all. So I just listen and let it go. Or, maybe better than let it go, is make some adjustment that's being asked for here, right? Maybe there is something that I could change. Maybe there is something that I could do that would make things better if I pay attention, right? So I've often said, so if somebody comes up to you on the street, well, actually, before I do that, let me just go on to another quote here, and then I want to come back to what I started to say. Reason will tell you that the only way to escape from misery is to recognize it and go the other way. I like this quote. Reason is a very important principle in the Course in Miracles. It has a lot to say about reason. Use your mind, use your reason. The Course is ultimately getting us clear up to ultimate knowledge, which is awareness of the kingdom of heaven. In the meantime, there's another mind that you've got, this we call a reasonable mind, will tell you that the only way to escape a misery is to recognize it and then go the other way. Just, the Course talks a lot about reversing thinking. This is the reversal in thinking. It's talking about going the other way. Rather than continue to feed this insane wolf, this insane mind of mine that's finding all the problems and the difficulties in the world, we stop it. B, we go the other way. And going the other way is often just being loving, where I might have been anything but loving. I might have been willing to attack back. Let's be clear. Attack never works. Attack never works, because what you're doing when you're attacking, you're attacking another ego. The way egos always have responded, they're going to attack back. So you attack, then they attack, and you attack, and we're not solving anything, we're not stopping anything, we're not healing anything, we're just exacerbating the situation. Somehow or another we get this insane idea, and this is part of what's going on with our world right now, right? That the way we stop ISIS, let's say, we just kill them. That's what we just kill all of them. Well, in the meantime, now that starts a whole other thing of everybody else that's going to want revenge against that, right? And this is really insane. Until that kind of thinking can stop and a reversal occurred and we go the other way, looking for the love, looking for the connection, looking for the thing that unites us, and there is something that unites us. We're all human beings here, and we all really have love inside us. There's really innocence inside all of us, but you got to be able to see it. You can't see it while you're on the attack. Let's keep going. Well, I hope it'll keep going. Got any idea why I'm not? Yeah. Pardon? Did I turn it off? Oh, that's it, maybe. Oh, okay, thank you. But I think I may have actually turned it off.
There we go.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, and thank you. And now we'll point it to the computer. Reason will tell you. Go the other way. Here I am, pointing to the, not where the solution is. Okay. No one can become an advanced teacher of God until he understands fully that defenses are but foolish guardians of mad illusions. The more grotesque the dream, the fiercer and more powerful its defense seems to be. Think about the more grotesque the dream. Dreams can really, war. War is in a grotesque dream. And yet the more powerful the defenses seem to be. We think that we need them. So the Course, this is where the Course in Miracles is completely different than so many other teachings. One of the basic lessons is, in defenselessness my safety lies. I started to talk about this a moment ago. I said I'd come back to it. So this is coming back to it. In defenselessness my safety lies. That doesn't make any sense at all to the ego. What should you do? Let's say that you're on the street here in New York City and somebody comes up and attacks your body. Well, what you should do is you should do everything in your power to stop them. For 3 reasons. Number 1, you still think that you're a body. And there's a simple proof of that. You're hanging out in one. So as long as you're hanging out in one, you'll also believe it could be hurt. You wouldn't want another body to hurt your body, so you would try to stop them from doing that. Number 2, you would not want to be accessory to a crime. If you let somebody beat you, you're literally being accessory to a crime. You're letting them do it. You just wouldn't want to do that, right? So the third, but we want to go the other way. It's really, don't worry, it's your body you would defend, of course, right? What it's talking about is your ego. So if the ego is being attacked, there's where there's no defense is needed, especially if somebody says something about you that's not true. If it's not true, it's not true. I was watching a bang bang get in the car and chase each other thing on television, and I realized all either the good guys had to do or the bad guys had to do to get a fight started to say something about the other guy's mother. Your mother! Oh, come on, don't you know who your mother is? Don't you know there's no truth in that? If there's no truth in a statement like that, why would you get upset about it? It's almost like you want to fight. And so in this particular show, was the good guys were doing it to the bad guys, which then made the good guys the bad guys. It didn't make any difference, right? To attack is to attack, just to get the fight started. But it was all based on nothing. Insanity, projective thoughts. We just let it go. It's actually so simple because if it's not true, it's not true. And as I suggested a while ago, if it is true, then you want to kind of look at that. Let's go on. Defenselessness is all that's required for truth to dawn upon the mind with certainty. Complete defenselessness. I don't care what it is that you feel like you're being attacked about. If you drop it completely, you say, it's okay, it doesn't matter, it's not important. We want to get to the peace of mind. The peace of mind can come despite what the circumstances around you look like. So Jesus is hanging on a cross. A jeering crowd is yelling at him. He does not see it as an attack. So if he can be in that kind of a situation and not see it as an attack, all the Course in Miracles is asking us to do is to not see attack in much less severe circumstances than that. So what's the response? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That's literally true. They did not know what they're doing. He did not say that so that God would understand how to handle a situation. He said that so that you and I would understand how to handle much less severe circumstances. Again, it's just a matter of letting it. That's what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is just letting it go. It's that incredibly simple. Right? Just a few more of these, and then we'll dialogue a little bit and take our break. Let them be as hateful and vicious as they may, they could have no effect on you unless you fail to recognize it's your dream. This is a very, very, very important point in the Course. Right? You know that section from chapter 21, section 2, responsibility for sight? Let's repeat it. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience. I decide upon a goal I would achieve. And then the last line is the most important one. Right? I decide upon the goal I would achieve. And everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for. Wow. Everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for. And I receive as I have asked. This is very, very powerful teaching. So if there's something that's coming your way and you say, I did not ask for this, stop it. And wait and look at it and think, no, it's some level, some place, somewhere you did. Because this is the lesson that's coming to you now. So it may be a very deep spiritual lesson. It may be cancer. It may be something like that has all of a sudden appeared in your life, and simply because it has, this is a school. I do not know one single esoteric mystical tradition that does not say that this is a school. And you've set up the curriculum. You may not remember having set up the curriculum, but you set up the curriculum. This is a spiritual learning, and it's a spiritual learning for you right now. I don't care what it is. Economic, financial, health, relationship, whatever it is. And we can find a solution here through peace of mind, but I can't find it by attack. I can find it if I project back against it. That will not solve anything. Remember, the Course says anger is never justified. The word is never. It doesn't say sometimes. We'd love it if it said sometimes. It says never. It's never justified. If it said sometimes, we got debates about which times it was and which times it wasn't. Right? It's never justified. So I want to look at that. And then let it go. It's that simple, but it's that also that hard. The Course really isn't easy. It isn't easy because we have been so poorly taught for so long. We've been thinking in the wrong way. We've been thinking that attack is justified. We've been thinking that killing them is the right answer for so long. It takes a lot to turn that around and go the other way. So let's go a little further with this. Agree with your, this is from Matthew now, this is not from A Course in Miracles, from the Gospel of Matthew. Agree with your adversary quickly while you're in the way with him, Lest at any time the adversary deliver thee to the judge, and the judge deliver to the officer, and thou be cast into prison. All this is make peace quickly. You know, you see that let's say you're in a couple relationship, right? And you see that one of you, the two of you is starting to get upset. There's a line in the Course of Miracles, whoever is saner at the moment. Whoever is saner at the moment should be the one that says, look, let's stop this nonsense. You know, there's a solution here, right? And we can find it pretty quickly, especially if there's some love going on in the relationship as well, right? All right. All right, so let's go on. The alternative of the ego to the alertness rather, the alertness of the ego to the errors of other egos is not the kind of vigilance the Holy Spirit would have you maintain. To the ego, it is kind and right and good to point out error and correct them. If you point out the error of your brother's ego, you must be seeing through yours. Because the Holy Spirit does not perceive his error. I read this interesting little story about a little boy writes a story, and he gives it to his mother to read. And she notices a little error in the writing, so she fixes it, and then she notices another error, and she notices another one, and she finally gets it all done, and she looks up, and the little boy is crying. And he says, I didn't want you to fix it, I wanted you to like it. You know, it's like, it's not our job to fix other people. It's not about that. It's not about fixing your wife or you're fixing your kid or fixing. It's just they need to be loved rather than fixed. Just love them. That's the fix. Don't actually literally try to fix them. You know, the mother could have read it and liked it and then said, "Oh, by the way, let me show you a couple of corrections here." Right? All right, we got a couple more of these before we take our break. Attack is never discreet. And must be this is why it must be relinquished entirely. Obviously, it could not be discreet. Physical attack, verbal attack, any attack is not discreet. If you attack error in another, you will hurt yourself. You cannot know your brother when you attack him. Attack is always made upon a stranger. So what this last line means is that it's always made upon a stranger because we make somebody a stranger by attacking them. They are now a stranger. I just made my wife a stranger by attacking her. She's not a stranger. I don't want to see her that way, right? I want to see her as my lover, not a stranger. But if I'm attacking, then I'm making this person into a stranger. I'm saying you're different than I am. A couple more. You can be as vigilant against the error ego's dictates as for them. This again is very, very important. This is why this isn't easy. This is a lot of work. You have to be very vigilant against the ego. You have to become very aware when you're in the ego state of mind, so that you can change it, so you can stop it. But if you're not even aware that the fact that you're doing it, how are you going to be able to do anything to stop it? Whenever you consent to suffer pain, to be deprived, unfairly treated, or in need of anything, you but accuse your brother attack upon God's Son. Because you're God's Son, right? God's Son cannot be attacked. You cannot say, that's again Jesus on the cross. You cannot be attacked. You have probably reacted for years as if you've been crucified. This is a marked tendency of the separated who always refuse and consider what they've done to themselves. Again, lesson 31 from the Course, one of the most powerful lessons in the entire Course. I often say if you get 31, you're going all the way. I am not a victim of the world I see. That's a very early lesson, 31. I am not a victim of the world I see. Don't play victim. You play victim, you're playing into the ego 100%, all the way. You are not a victim. I don't care what seems to be happening to you, you're not a victim, right? This is from 1 Peter from the Bible. Christ left us an example that we should follow in his steps. He did not sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, who, when he was reviled not again. When he was tortured, he retaliated not, but committed himself to him that judges rightly. This is the example that we are to follow. Just a couple more. I'm going to skip this one in the interest of time. It is not danger that comes when defenses are laid down. It's safety, it's peace, it's joy, and it's God. Here's a good one from Mark Twain. I thoroughly disapprove of duels. If a man should challenge me, I would take him kindly and lovingly by the hand and lead him to a quiet place and kill him. As only Mark Twain could be, right? So, but let's translate this into another way, okay? What I thoroughly disapprove of duels. A man should challenge me, I would take him kindly and forgivingly by the hand. This is what and lead him to a quiet place and turn it over to the Holy Spirit and let it go. Right? I mean, just turn it over to the Holy Spirit and let it go. You know, that's killing it. Killing it is taking the energy away from it. It's not giving life to it, not giving life to the air, right? And then one from Rumi. Those who make you return for whatever reason to God's solitude, be grateful for them. Worry about the others who give you delicious comforts that keep you from prayers. Friends are enemies sometimes, and enemies friends. That's what I meant earlier about, if somebody is pointing out some errors in you, listen. Listen very carefully. See if there's some truth in it. See if there's some adjustment that you can make. That bell signs that it's 2:30, so we're going to break. And we come back, Amy is going to share with you.